Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
Well, they say it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All righty. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know Show. Yes, it's a Thursday when we normally do Wednesdays, but hey, whatever. We're here, right, Joe?
A little off schedule, right? But hey, that's what we like to keep it entertaining. We like to keep it spicy a little bit here. We like to keep you on your toes. So you're never going to know when we're going to pop up during the week now.
Hey, we're veterans. We can show up to camp whenever the frig we want.
That's right. It's in our contracts, you know?
Yes.
Take it easy. But what's going on, everybody? Welcome back, Know-It-Alls, on this glorious Thursday night. We're going to talk about something interesting, very intriguing to maybe a lot of fans out there that actually give a shit about the NFL. But the international expansion and what is Roger Goodell up to? Because we've got some new tidbits from the man that has spoken on his great big podium and suggesting that international expansion is going to be a lot more broader than we expect. And it sounds like Roger Goodell, by the way, is 100% all in on getting at least one international team to be involved in this league and then go from there. And he doesn't stop there, because there's also talk, he's saying anyway, that he has plans for a Super Bowl to be outside of the States in international territory. Jim, let's dive into this right now.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I was a little surprised in how he didn't pull back any words, and basically is saying that it's not about if it's going to happen, it's more about when it's going to happen. And gotta say, like, in your opinion at this point, like, is this good? Is this bad for the league? You know, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I really don't like it. Again, and maybe again, I'm just labeled a purist, I'm got to switch with the times, yada, yada. But I, for one, again, care about, the athletes and the product I'll be getting and things, when others are like, oh, well, they were paid millions of dollars to play a game and blah, blah, blah. And oh my goodness, it's going to inconvenience them by traveling and all that stuff. But look at the injuries that pop up anyways. They're in training camp that we're seeing. Look at how they, are doing Thursday games, sometimes Saturday games here to short weeks anyways. That's prepare time. That's recovery time. That's how your body can recover during those days off after a hard-hitting game. And they tell you every time you're in a game that you're basically being in a car accident every time. So you want me to have multiple car accidents within a week, on, short rest time and travel and have my body not get used to some of this, different time change and go there and play. And it's not about the brand and trying to extend the brand. Everybody knows American football. They already play American football and many other leagues in Europe and around all over these
across
other
the world
places that they're going for. So we're not buying that. It's all about money and whatever they want to do, and they're forcing the issue no matter what. So what's even the point of even having a CBA or something like something for the players to even sign that to try and work out, because the NFL is going to end up getting whatever they want anyways.
Yeah, and that's just a small part of all of this. And then you also got to take into consideration, what are all the parameters of making this thing happen? You think about, like, if we have, let's just say, we're going to say this, for example, the UK, they get the first franchise, right? And a lot of people have made ties about the Jacksonville Jaguars, maybe possibly being that franchise that moves over to the UK and they can be the foothold for the NFL there. Let's just say that happens, right? Now they got to move all their operation from Jacksonville to the UK. They have to make sure that the stadiums are all up to par 100% year round, ready to go for any NFL team visiting. Now, the travel part is the thing, is going to be a huge expense. No matter if it is UK or not, it's going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars after it's all said and done, for teams to travel that distance And then how are you going to schedule these teams to have enough of a rest period when they come back, or even when they're over there? We've seen in preseason how the Minnesota Vikings were over in Ireland, and they stayed over in Ireland because they had another preseason game the following week. I think the UK or something like that. So they stayed out there. So like what the amount of expenses that are going to be poured in now, it's not to say that teams can't afford it. Of course they can, because of all the money that they do make. However, there's a lot that goes into that. A lot of travel planning, a lot of getting your equipment that you need out over there, all your gear. Like the players alone, the coaches alone are going to be irate over this. I'm telling you right now, it's not a question of like Roger Goodell's pushing this so hard, and I don't know why. Like what is the motivation? Like, and I agree with you, Jimmy. Like you mentioned, like it's not about the brand. It's not about like making more money. Like, well, I can't say it's not about that. Of course, it's always about making. As far as expansion of the brand, everybody across the globe knows what the NFL is. They know American football. They treasure it. They love it, just like we do. But I just think it's a terrible decision if this is actually going to happen, because you're going to create a problem within a league. You know how they say that there's such a thing as too much of a good thing? Well, this is it. This is what you're doing. Like what we have in the States is special outside with the other countries because it's exclusive. It's special to America. So that, of course, there's a lot of following, and they love the sport. But now if you start spreading that thing out and making it a little thinner to where it's more reachable by other countries, and I can't fathom how this would all work. But depending on how big of this expansion that Roger Goodell is looking forward to, this could hurt the league in a way to where negative impact, to where American football fans like us might take a step back, might be a little pushed off by the fact that we got teams now in UK and I don't know, like maybe even in Africa or something like that.
Oh yeah, whatever their markets are. Yep.
Because now you're making it too thin of a format. It's everywhere, so it's the whole allure for this sport, I think, would die for a lot of like traditional fans. But that's the thing. It's like this. I feel like it's a terrible decision. I don't know why he would be going this direction. And it's not about, I agree, it's not about brand expansion. Everybody knows the NFL. Everybody loves the NFL. So I don't know why you're messing with it too much. We also complained about the rule changes that they make every year and how they're literally changing how football used to be played and making it, more modern in their ideas.
Yeah, and first I want to give a shout out to Christian out there in the house with us.
What's going on, Christian?
He's out there. He says, "What's up?" And he says, "The Big Blue out here dominating the Finns."
It's preseason, brother.
It's preseason. Yeah.
It's preseason.
Exactly. So, but you bring up a good point in the fact too that no other league is adding like an international team to their league. Yes, they're expanding. Look at the NBA. They have reach across of China, and they have other leagues, the
right.
G League, whatever, and all this. And they're still able to have teams, and actually former NBA players, or even players that are out there hoping to play to get back in, playing there and still being their own superstars there and still making a good living and still expanding the brand.
Right.
The NFL to add another additional team and it's going to be these other markets that are bigger. Like I don't see, they've been trying Mexico City for so long and all this and that, and do you talk about Canada, but are they going to impede? They don't have an international market in Canada right now. They stay away. They're like, you got the Canadian League up there. We're not touching that. We don't even play games in Canada. So for people to think that Canada all of a sudden is going to have a team, or Toronto or whatever,
right?
No way, because they are not even testing those markets. But you're like talking what you're saying, Germany, Ireland, the UK, and that's just going to draw out your season, which is fine. Having some more. Everybody's like, oh, we get more games. Yeah, okay. But again, a lot of travel on the players, potential for more injuries, or even sickness and illness at that point. Because how many times when you travel internationally, especially when I, go on vacation or something, you get something from somewhere else that's going on or something too.
Not just that, not just illnesses, but then think about what if something catastrophically happens to UK? What if they're under attack in the middle of a war? What are we doing? Like what if there's a threat now in other countries where we have football teams? And now it's not so safe anymore. So like, why are we going across the pond just to make an NFL game happen? It just, to me, geographically, it does not make sense. Now, when you bring up Mexico, that makes a lot more sense. It's not that far. It's right down south of the border, guys. Like that to me is more reasonable than having to go over the pond and go to UK or go to Germany or like, everybody wants a franchise, of course. Everybody does. And I get it. Of course, you want the best of the best in your country. It's just like, do you think for 1 second that the Premier League, can we ever have a Premier League team here where those teams are going to travel over here to just for the one team that's in the US that's part of the Premier League? Like, I don't see that ever happening. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
like I said, it only makes sense, and especially you can still even make more money is if you again try and start up NFL Europe again, and then do something like else where you already know there's a draw right now for it. Now is the time to bring it back and try and do something like that. That's why I think they've kind of trying to latch on to the UFL and stuff like that, because they see like, all right, well, there is potentially something here. This one is actually going still for multiple spring seasons. Let's see where this leads, but you're already on American soil. Go to the untapped areas too, where everybody's gathering in these arenas or, and trying to check just an NFL game. But if you're able to bring this type of NFL experience and still just people barely out of the league, some people still trying to get back in, like you said, we've seen stars kind of be, people become stars that were former players that didn't have a lucrative NFL career, do well in those lower leagues. You can still potentially have something there, and the NFL would be generating revenue just like that. So
yeah, and they can keep their tabs on anything. So if they were to bring back like NFL Euro or whatever, right, as an official partner of the NFL, that type of a league over there in some geographical area where it can be centralized to where maybe people athletes from Germany can try out, and from UK, and then maybe people from China want to make that trip to go and try out, like Australia. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the ones that to me, I cannot fathom that we're actually going to have a preseason game in Australia. It's going to be like 2 weeks of traveling. You know what I mean? It's going to be or a week or whatever it takes. But then it's also coming back, returning. You have to get your body's not timed right with the hours that you're going to be, with the jet lag and everything like that. Like you're going to have to completely readjust. It's going to take a couple days, 2-3 days to get your bearings before you can even, be really you as an athlete. So there's a lot. I think there's more negatives than positives for this expansion that he's talking about.
As far as people turning away, I don't think, people will be mad or be like, oh, I'm never going to watch a game. They're still going to watch. But as far as even like you saying, bring up the point of Super Bowl being across there.
That's a hard pill to swallow, man.
That. Yeah. But how many real fans go to the Super Bowl anyways? You know what I'm saying? Like it's all corporate, that, and all this stuff.
For the most part, yes.
People get, and then people, if you are able to go, you win the tickets. So, hey, then I get to travel to a different country and go and check out this game. And I get that because, like I just said, I mean, most of the Super Bowl people are attending. It's all corporate owned. There are people that are celebrities that can afford the tickets to go. So I don't think that really affects the fan that much. If a Super Bowl is played in a different country. Now, though, depending on where the country is, though, we know what time it starts traditionally. What does that mean? That game is being played. What time is that game being played?
First thing in the morning.
Would be the only stipulation.
It'd be terrible. It'd be a terrible experience.
Well,
and this is
some places in Europe, they're drinking first thing in the morning anyways.
This is where I have a hard time where I do think some fans will fall off, just like they fell off when the whole kneeling incident happened in the NFL, where before and then during the national anthem, everybody was kneeling. So some traditional fans stopped watching football altogether. Like they're still a fan of their team, but they just literally stopped watching it. So if you're going to kind of play that fine line with fans and just because for your own gain, I think that's just dangerous territory. And for the league itself, spreading themselves way too thin when I honestly don't think they have all the support system that they're going to need in order to do something like this.
I don't know. We'll see. Like you said, it's inevitable. So I guess we'll be
That's
able
what they're
to see it.
saying. I'll
Yeah.
tell you this. The owners are they're going to play a big part of this because that's what makes the league move. Just because Goodell wants this to happen, the owners could stick up and say, no, we don't feel like doing all that. I mean, if they say that, then that it's abolished. It's done.
Mhm.
So hopefully the owners kind of wake up to the realization like this might not be the best for the league.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. All right, next up, Joe, we've got key signings here, as the hold-ins and the holdouts have been happening throughout the offseason here. Still a few more out there, but one of the names, that have been out there, and again, you say, you guys, when they're like, hey, I want to be traded, I want out of here. And then a deal eventually gets done. They try to play their hand the best they can, but they do. If they're not showing up to mandatory camp and all this other stuff, there's fines and all this nonsense. So, but what I think was great, and we're talking about Vita Vea, at least first off here, is that he wanted to trade. I'm out. I'm blah, blah, blah. And then when he's at the podium, he's like, I always wanted to play here for the rest of my career and blah, blah, blah. You're like, well, all right, then why did you demand a trade? But we all know that's just politics,
Yeah, definitely politics. Vita Vea and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers reconcile. Everything's all good, but they give him a really big 1 year, $30 million contract extension. All right. And $6 million of that is immediate new money for this year for him. So right away he gets that. And then he's honestly for 2 more fully guaranteed seasons, the total worth is $48 million. So Vita Vea, now Tampa Bay and him work it out, which we kind of saw this coming because a lot of veterans do this. A lot of people looking for a new deal. And quite simply, it's job security. When these guys run out of guaranteed money, the guaranteed money is such a big, important trading piece that, if you don't have guaranteed money, the team can get rid of you tomorrow. The team can move on and not have to pay you the rest of your contract. So guaranteed money is really what locks teams in with the athlete. So that's what Vita Vea was really looking for, is some more guaranteed money, a little pay increase, because honestly he was kind of slipping in the top 10 list of D tackles as far as pay goes. And the dude definitely deserves it, even at the age of 31. The guy's still a freaking Mack truck. So Vita Vea getting that deal done. Next after him was Trayvon Diggs. And Jim, I know how we feel about Trayvon Diggs. However, the Seattle Seahawks, and this is interesting, they signed him to a 1 year deal, right? That makes a lot of sense. Guy coming off an injury again. Let's see if he's all there. Let's see if he fits our defense. Still has talent as a zone corner. And predominantly Seattle does play a lot of zone, but they also play man. And we've seen this guy get burned time and time again when that happens. So maybe with Seattle's defensive structure, maybe how they're going to use him is going to help him out a little bit more. So we'll have to wait and see. But do you see this signing as a good thing, or you think this is one of those things where it's going to be like he's just like maybe a camp corner and might?
Yeah, I think he's like, who knows? He's a camp corner. I think maybe even insurance policy, just in case, with what's going on with Terrion Arnold with, discipline or whatever, he might be seeing jail time or whatever. So they're probably like, gosh, Trayvon Diggs, he had something in the tank before. He played for the Packers last year, I think, for a bit, and wasn't spectacular again. They added him to kind of be like, well, let's see what he has left in the tank or whatever. And it didn't really pan out for them. So it's like nothing big loss for
Yeah, it's
them.
not.
It's bigger
Yeah.
win for him if it can. So like I think it's just an insurance policy. If it works out, it's not a whole lot to invest in. So
Yeah, so Terry and Arnold, that's the funny part of all this is they've held off his signing, by the way. He isn't officially signed.
Yeah.
So Seattle pivoted and they're like, you know what?
Mhm.
His court cases aren't resolved and this looks a little messy. So
Yeah.
maybe we turn our attention to someone else. So
Yeah.
there you have it. Diggs is now in Seattle.
Mhm.
Najee Harris, an intriguing signing for the New York Football Giants. A guy who's about 27, 28 years old, still kind of in his prime, coming back from major injury. But the guy has talent. Like we've seen this guy play for the Pittsburgh Steelers and dominate at the running back position. You know, we've seen him play with the Chargers, but then, you know, that injury happened. So Najee Harris, young in his prime, going to the Giants, intriguing to me, Jim, because is this just a depth move or do you honestly think that Najee Harris has a shot to make this team?
I think he has a definite shot too. Again, he's 28 years old still, like you said. You know, had that major injury and surgery through that. So again, last year only played in 3 games for the Chargers, but he's had 4 seasons consecutive before that with over 1,000 yards. His rookie season, he even had 1,200 yards. So that is there. That like when you see that, you're like, dude,
Right.
that untapped potential is there. And we've spoke about their backfield before, and even the fact that some of these guys, Eric Gray, Devin Singletary, have been there for a while. Devin Singletary's still there, but he's not part of this new regime. You've got, you know, the Harbaugh guys now here. Najee Harris did play in a Todd Monken offense, so I wasn't sure if maybe that's why he, you know, Harbaugh's like, well, this guy, I'm familiar with that type of offense too. Maybe he could make a fit up in here, and maybe even, you know, Matt Nagy was like, hey, I could do something with this guy too. I like this, and maybe they're gonna just move on from Devin Singletary. He's 28 too, but he has never been a Najee Harris. So I feel like it's an insurance policy in case Scadaboo again goes running through a brick wall or something, you know, doesn't learn from last year and his mistakes. It still doesn't seem like he does. I know in the offseason and at what was it, the Fan Fest, you know, he was acting the fool again and acting crazy. So I think it's insurance policy type, you know, deal as well. I think he can make the team. Like I said, if they're not tied to Devin Singletary and say, all right, you know, that's fine. He's trying out basically to go play for another team or again, UFL, if you still want to play somewhere else or whatever. Najee Harris has a better upside, I would say.
Yeah, you know, guys like Cam Scadaboo, obviously, I feel like it's more of an insurance policy for Cam. Than anything. And here's the other thing is you bring up the fact that Najee Harris, like the style of running backs that the Harbaughs have loved. They love the physical downhill runners that Najee Harris is. So I don't think this is just a camp signing just to fill out the roster and get him in there and get reps. And I think he's going to legitimately make this team. And I think he's going to end up kicking out Stingley. Or Singletary. I think he's done. I think Eric Gray is done. I think that Najee Harris is going to either be the 3rd running back on this team, or in the worst case scenario, Cam Scadaboo goes down with another concussion, because this is the scary thing. That's what they were worried about coming out of the draft is this guy going to still run with this kind of power style that he does, and he gets hurt. He suffered a minor concussion already in practice. Already. So Giants obviously are like, well, we got to try to protect him as much as we can. Maybe we don't run him as much. So let's bring in another bull type of running back in Najee Harris. So if everything checks out for the Giants, man, they simply might have one of the best running back backfields when week 1 hits the field. So it's going to be exciting for the Giants out there to see what he can do for the upcoming week.
Absolutely.
Keenan Allen was an interesting signing this week. Indianapolis Colts end up signing Keenan Allen to their receiving core. And I don't know how to really take this. Like, obviously, he's a really good player. Like, he's still, even though he's mid-30s, he's still a guy who can get open, make those first down catches, maybe even stretch a play or two here and there. Makes a real big difference for an offense. But is this more of a concerned type of signing? Because Alec Pierce is still not ready to go, still not 100%. And then you have other young guys that are trying to, kind of make a name for themselves on this roster too. And they just needed some more veteran leadership.
Oh, absolutely. I think it is too. Like you just basically hit the nail on the head here with that. Alec Pierce up in the air, and then you've got Westbrook Akine there. That guy, he looks really good at times when you see him out there. You're like, all right, this guy showed some flashes of something here. I like that. And just a young kid. And then again, you've got a bunch of younger dudes that are really not other names, and you've got Daniel Jones there, and you want him to be able to have trust in somebody there, like a veteran like Keenan Allen. You don't need to be really on the same page with each other, like, work out all the time, stuff like that. He'll just talk to Daniel Jones and be like, hey man, when I'm doing this and this, I'm going to be this. And they'll connect, I think, right away, So I think just because of having that veteran leadership and what he's been able to do and how he runs his routes too. I mean, I think he's top 5. He might even be number 1. I can't remember what the stat was about him and receptions I just heard earlier, but I mean, he's up there. He's a veteran, one of the top receivers in the league of all time. So he's just there to fill that gap because they're unsure. They're just unsure. They look at that wide receiver room right now and they're like, we're going to try it out right now, with this. And again, we just gave, Daniel Jones some more money. So we can't have this, go back poorly here. And I think that's even what Shane Steichen is, because despite having such a good start last year, and understandably so, Daniel Jones goes down with an injury and stuff that changed everything. But I think he's going to have the microscope on him this season. So, he's got to try and muster up something here. And that was just a veteran signing to see what they can do.
Yeah, I also think that it's an upgrade. I mean, they moved on from Michael Pittman Jr., which honestly, if you're going to say you basically let Michael Pittman Jr., like you traded him and got rid of him, or I can pick up Keenan Allen, I think that's an upgrade. Like, I think Keenan Allen's going to help this team a lot more than Michael Pittman ever has. And Colts fans might not be happy to hear about that, but that's what I think is going to end up happening. You're going to love Keenan Allen. There's a trade that happened this week, which didn't really expect too many things in terms of a trade happening, but Daniel Faalele, the guard, gets traded. The Jaguars, and to acquire the offensive lineman from the New York Football Giants. So it looks like in exchange for 27 6-round picks. Pretty standard type of veteran type of a trade and everything. But this is bigger for Jacksonville than it is for the Giants. The Giants seem like they like what they have other than Daniel Faalele. It looks like they definitely believed in the fact that they could move on from him, pick up a pick or swap picks, what have you, and just move on from him because they like what they have at their disposal. So the Jaguars get Daniel Faalele. Hopefully he's going to help them out, fill out that roster for them. And that's the only trade that happened. The only other big signing, Jim, was Von Miller, one of the biggest names in free agency. Von Miller goes to the Dallas Cowboys, and this is something that you could kind of see coming because Jerry Jones does not like not being in the spotlight for his Dallas Cowboys. They sent him to a 1-year veteran contract to stick with the Dallas Cowboys for the 26th season. I don't know. I don't really like this signing. And I like Von Miller. I like him. I've loved him as a player. I think he's a tremendous player. But at this point in his career, he just doesn't have the it factor anymore. No. Like, yeah, sure, he can still get a sack here and there, but not like he used to. He didn't, just wreak havoc in the backfield all the time like he did in his prime anymore. So this is kind of one of those things where like a Jerry Jones typical signing where like big name, add him to the arsenal. Let's fill more seats, because now we got Von Miller on the roster type of thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is like, you see Jerry Jones and what he does in the draft, and I really like the way he drafts and gets some of these guys. And you're like, man, this guy still, no matter what, how we make fun of him being general manager and what he does and how he handles contracts, and it's a huge circus. He does pretty well in building some of these teams, and I think the Dallas Cowboys have a really good shot to go very far this year. I think they'll definitely take the division. I think Philadelphia takes a step back, but every now and then he does this like Al Davis thing, and that's what it kind of seems to me again. Like Al Davis all of a sudden sometimes would be like, "Oh, I'm going to get this veteran after they've already aged out or whatever, just have that name out there still." And he does that sometimes. I think Jerry Jones does that, and this is what Von Miller is. It's good for Von Miller because you saw what he tried to do with the Buffalo Bills. That was clear that he's like, I'm going to jump on this bandwagon. Hopefully I get a ring before I bounce out of here. Because he's basically on retirement, basically, unless he gets one. And then if he doesn't, I'm going to keep trying and keep going on. There's just like leapfrog and trying to get onto another team and trying to latch onto another team. And I think he looked at this roster with the Dallas Cowboys and like, I think they've got a good shot. Nobody else is looking at me right now. Jerry, what do you think, man? Well, and Jerry's like, yeah, why not? Yeah, Von Miller, yeah, you're Super Bowl champion. Yeah, sure. And throws you on there. Like you're saying, I don't think he's making a big impact at all. To have the veteran presence and maybe a rotational player here.
Rotational player, maybe.
But that's about it. And what you've already did with this defense from last year with the trades and stuff, even getting away from Micah Parsons, the stuff that you've added, you didn't need to go out and make a signing like this. So like you're saying, I agree. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense just unless it's a rotational player.
One thing that I'll say about the signing, though, is it's for no money.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's where it's different. Like, Al Davis, at the end of his years, he got desperate, so he started paying a lot of money to guys that really weren't as good as they used to be type of deal.
Yeah.
This is more of like, I want to stay in the spotlight. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like my Dallas Cowboys not being part of the media coverage. So, you know, it's an ego thing. That's what it is. It's an egos type of signing. So, Jerry, you'll be all right, bud. Settle down.
Right. It's just a bigger name that, again, but impact right now, it doesn't matter.
Right. So then we get to season-ending injuries. Now, this is the sad part of the segment of the show for all these teams, but we'll start off right now. They're playing right now. The Houston Texans end up losing Jaden Higgins, their sophomore wide receiver, who had a very promising rookie season last year and looked like he was going to take that next jump for them this year, but tore his ACL during a Tuesday practice and now is officially out for the season. So that kind of sucks for Houston. Now they're going to miss another weapon that they were kind of relying on for this upcoming year. Danny Pinter, a starting center. This is another starting center for the Baltimore Ravens, suffered a torn patella tendon. He's going to be out indefinitely. He's done. Jimmy Newton, a lot of people might not know his name, but he was supposed to be the next starter in line to play D tackle for Washington, but he's going to miss a lot of time, is what they're saying. Significant portion of time missing for that defense. So he's gone. A guy that we all are very familiar with, Alvin Kamara, Jim. We everybody kind of makes the jokes in the offseason like, oh, well, how long is he going to last? Well, he lasted until like mid-training camp and then went down with a sprained MCL. He's going to be out at least a month. So he's probably not going to be ready to go week 1. I'm going to say like maybe it's going to take to week 3 or 4 for him to kind of come back fully and ready to go. Tyler Biadasz. Yes, another center. This is the third center in a week that has gone down and is out for the year for their respected team. Tyler Biadasz for the Chargers.
Yeah,
he's
that's
big. Be out.
That's big because
major.
Isn't it for the Chargers every single year? Even though there's a lot of pressure on Justin Herbert all the time, they're facing injuries on that offensive line. So I mean, he does get much help when it comes to that every single season.
Well, the big deal here is that ACL and structural knee damage.
Yeah.
So they're saying that, oh, he's done. Like it's a wrap. And when you tell me, when I hear the phrase structural knee damage, this could be career ending. I mean, this guy has had a good career, but this might be it. We'll have to kind of monitor that, into next season. And this is also a key position, everybody. Like on the offensive line, he's basically the quarterback of the offensive line. The center makes all the checks and balances, calls the pass protection calls and run plays, like any audibles that might have to take place. So these centers going down is crucial for the offensive line, their development, and how they're going to, perform for you week in and week out during the season. So it's absolutely insane to me that now there's 3 starting centers that are all done for the year. That brings us to Jordan Tyson, highly sought after rookie in this past draft, was looking tremendously amazing out there for the New Orleans Saints, was literally shredding opposing defenses in the preseason. Like the guy was actually looking really good. And we thought he was going to stay healthy, but the hamstring bug came back to get him again. This stems from him back in college. He's always had this kind of soft tissue injury, and it still plagues him today. But they're saying that he's going to be out roughly 2 months, not just 4 weeks, and then he should be good. 2 months is kind of crazy. So I wonder if he's a slow healer, or maybe it's worse than they're kind of letting on and just saying it's a severe hamstring pull, I guess. But tough break for the kid, because he was looking really good. And now not only does he have to get healthy, but you're going to be in the portion of the season where they kind of need you on the field, and you don't want to put him out there too early. You don't want to wait too long, but it's going to be something significant for the Saints to kind of monitor and see where that goes. So, but that's it for like any of the kind of major injuries that have happened. We went over the signings and everything. And honestly, it's a lot of activity for a week. It really is. Like, I'm kind of surprised on how much is going on. Not so much injury wise, but more the signings, a trade kind of thrown into the mix. So definitely busy offseason so far, Jim.
Yep. Stuff on the international games. I mean, fights in the, in the joint practices.
Oh, yeah. By the way, a fight about the fights in the joint practices, Saints and Cowboys got into it multiple times.
Yeah.
And the NFL came down hard with the hammer. They fined both teams $500,000. And Jim, that kind of brings on a different thing. I got to kind of slide this in there. Like, is the NFL getting too, like, is this too involved for the NFL to really fine teams now for fighting during practices? Because it never used to happen before. You never fined anybody for this. This is the kind of thing that happens week in and week out.
Well, I think they have to, because I mean, you don't allow them to fight in a preseason game or even an NFL game that much. But again, it's just a practice. But you're taking off normal, practices without doing joint practices with each other, and you're expected to play as if it's a game and respect one another here. I mean, if you're allowing it to just be free for all, fight whenever the frig you want, and then like you said, even multiple fights. We used to hear just maybe there was a scuffle, they go away, blah blah blah. But more and more every year, there's more and more fights, and it's escalating. We all remember even the Aaron Donald taking the helmet and pulling off, swinging around, flailing around, and trying to smack somebody with. You can't be doing that. You don't do it in a game. You can't be doing it even in practice, man. Come on. It's ridiculous. That's the way I look at it. I'm like, yeah, it's only practice, but come on, man. You got to set a standard, and you can't be doing it at a joint practice. Because like you said, dude, we're getting together so we can kind of almost get like game-like, practice before this starts, the reps. You shouldn't be scuffling and fighting like this all the time. Come on, man.
Everybody knows you're not supposed.
Yeah, but you shouldn't allowing it though. You don't allow it. You don't allow it in a normal game.
But here's the thing: is in a normal game, it's a different environment. Nobody's fighting for jobs. In the training camp, this is why tempers flare up and they kind of boil over, and you get into these little mishaps or scuffles, if you will. Is the emotion kind of rises, and everybody's fighting for a job at this point. So yeah. It does get a little chippy. It does get a little aggressive. Yeah, there might be a fight or two that breaks out in these mutual practices between two teams. And I think it's kind of a little crazy when you're not finding players, though. You're finding teams. Like, you can't tell me that let's say 180 players are on the field together.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to stop every single scuffle. You're not even going to be able to prevent them from happening, because these are all guys that are actually, some of them are fighting for their, obviously they're fighting for their families. They're fighting to make a team. They're fighting to kind of make a career out of things, especially if you're not an established player. And that's where you see a lot of these fights occur, is guys that aren't established on the team, guys that are still trying to fight and get and make the team. So they don't want to be, overshadowed. They want to be overlooked. So sometimes, and it's good for coaches to see, sometimes there's a little spirit in there. There's a little fire that it means that much to them. So I get what you're saying, Jim, but I also got to say, like, I think this is a little too far for the league to kind of just, you're starting to find teams when I think every single team does their best to prevent these things from happening.
I think that's the way to go, because how many times do you even, if they did get fined, right? You got a veteran or whoever, that the star player or something, whoever, you've seen it even on defensive sides with your teammates. Oh, I'm going to scuffle with this guy, blah, 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 this, and a rookie, maybe he's like, all right, well, I'm going to show my moxie. I'm going to go, I ain't taking this crap. I'm a rookie, but I ain't taking it. Who are you going to find? You can find a rookie. What? All right, dude, they don't make squat, compared to some of these guys. So how do you know that even guys pick a fight? It's like, what are you going to do about it? You're going to go get fined and whatever. I can pay it. I really don't care. That don't bother me none. But so you find a team comes down on the coach and say, hey, pulling you in the office, you need to get your guys straightened out and get your stuff together here. So then he's got to have a moment with all the players here. I don't think if you're going to try and find players like rookies trying to make the team where they're fired up and all that, I don't think that's going to work that way.
It's definitely not going to work by finding teams. Like this is part of training camp.
It shouldn't be happening.
This has happened for decades.
Happened with some scuffles between teammates, not clearing the benches or even multiple within a practice.
It happens every year, buddy.
Not as much as it has been. It's escalating, and I think it's ridiculous.
The thing: is it used to not be publicized. You used to not be able to be video recorded and stuff. This has happened decades.
Social media has been around for a while, Joe. I mean, come on, man. It just come on.
It's happened for decades, dude. This happens every single year. This is not anything new.
Yeah, okay. Well, the internet's been around for decades, for 30 years. You know what I mean? So I mean,
it happens every year.
It's been escalating, though. That's the bottom line. It's something that shouldn't be happening. I get if there's a little scuffle, and they do happen, but between two teams on either sides and stuff like that, multiple times in a practice, like, come on, man, give me a break.
It happens, bro. It's part of football, man.
You can't just say it's part. You can't.
Yes, it is.
You can't.
You're talking about for jobs, man.
This is not like can't even do padded practice together, but they want to do joint practice to try and get real life, real action, or whatever. But you're going to allow them to fight each other and potentially hurt and injure each other on top of the two. But you claim about injuries. They don't care.
None of them allow this to happen. It just happens, and then they do their best to break it up. It's just that simple.
Multiple times.
Okay,
first one thing, 2 times happens. Like, all right, we're calling the practice off for another couple hours. Then we'll come back later or something. If it happens again, that's it. We're just done.
And that's what happens. They shut practice down that day. So like
happen.
I know this shouldn't always happen because you want to get more reps out there, but this isn't something that happens every single day in practice. This is something that just happens during the week.
This season seems like I've seen almost 10 fights at this point. It's ridiculous.
I think that's come on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a little too much.
There's multiple in practice.
Yeah, 2
you know what I mean? So come on.
Like,
so no, there's already been 5 or 6 so far.
It's always going to be around.
But I don't know. So, I don't agree with that. But.
All right. Okay. So what's the difference then? Hold on. What's the difference then? Regular season and then training camp then?
Regular season, like if there's a little bit of scuffle, they get ejected even from the game.
You don't see that much because the whole fighting for your job type of deal is gone. Like the jobs have already been decided. The tiers have been already crowned. So there's no more of that raw emotion that kind of boils over to win the job. Like
some players are playing for their job every time they're out there.
Not during the regular season.
Yeah, they are.
Because they've already been decided.
No, not exactly. What about Joe Flacco?
What about Joe Flacco?
He was a starter at one point, then got benched, and then he got traded to Cincinnati and was playing for Joe Burrow, who was injured. he was
Yeah.
trying to fight for a job every single day.
But
Because
everybody
he knew
views him as a
Shador
backup.
Sanders was right there and stuff like that, huh?
Everybody has viewed him as a backup every team that he's gone to.
Yeah, but he's still playing for his job every single day. You're talking about that when the season starts, they're not playing for their job, playing for the spot. He was.
Well, that's because the spots have already been decided. There's no
spot wasn't decided when they didn't
during
need
the
him.
season.
It's
When the starters are named and they play week 1, those are your starters for the
but if
season.
you don't perform, you can easily get benched and somebody else takes your spot.
That does happen, but it's very rare that actually happens during the season. Like we're talking, like you're saying,
no,
like
I know what you're,
but
I know what you're saying though too about somebody trying to fight for a roster spot. But if you're fighting, say you're amped up, I'm trying to fight for a roster spot, and you just got in a fight, you're not making a team unless you're some superstar, that first round pick that they brought in. Well, come on, man.
We're talking about emotion that's involved in trying to win a job on a roster.
Yeah, but if you're the one starting fights and you're in there, you're like, dude, you're not making a team.
But you're talking like there's fights every single day in every single practice. It's not like that. It's once in a while for these teams. It doesn't happen every single day. But yes, this is one of those things in football that does happen every once in a while. This is part of training camp. We've seen this time and time again. But I think this is a little crazy that the NFL is now kind of putting their stamp on this and saying, well, we're going to start finding teams now and not just $50,000. We're finding them $500,000. And what do you want them to do? Because
I agree,
not going to be able to prevent everything from happening like that. We got 180 players out there. Come on.
Yeah, I agree. Find them. So you disagree. I agree. Oh, there you go. Agree to disagree. How about that? So I like it to be tight knit. I like to have some, I don't like chaos and things like that. So
well, no, it's not going to be chaos, but the thing is go ahead. If you start finding these, hold on. I just want to say, if you start finding all these teams every time now, I'm not saying like, oh, well, it was a little scuffle. No, anytime there's a fight or a scuffle or anything like that, the league starts finding teams. Nothing's going to change. Yeah, they're going to come down harder on their players and they're going to say, hey, you guys can't be doing this, blah, blah, blah. We're trying to get reps, this, that, and the other thing. But in the moment with football players and emotions do rise, sometimes they can't control themselves. So
I understand that.
That's the part where I think this is a little crazy, is you're expecting coaching staffs and maybe even the referees get involved. I doubt they do, but team captains, they definitely get involved and try to break it up. So it's like you do what you can. And this is kind of one of those things. It's a physical sport. Sometimes it gets a little crazy and these things happen.
All right. That ended up, what's funny, we added that to the end here as a segment, and that ended up being one of our longest segments. So a little back and forth. So, all right. So that's it for the show tonight. We appreciate you guys who did chime in. I know there's preseason games going on and you guys are checking them out and stuff. We definitely appreciate you guys checking out us as well. We're going to be adding some more content. I think next week we should do something about some quarterbacks that are on a prove-it year, that they're going to be looking for another contract, and we're kind of up in the air on some of them. So I think we should maybe go over a couple of those and see what we think about them and who they might be. So again, all right, we appreciate you guys out there. Thanks for joining in the comments, and we appreciate you guys to share the video as well, and also sub to the channel.
Follow us on TikTok. Do all the good stuff. We're everywhere. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on X. You name it. We're there. If you want to follow us and follow what we do, reporting NFL, make sure you do so.
All right. We'll see you guys in the next